The gods were not erased by accident. They weren't forgotten because people simply stopped believing, and they weren't lost to time in some natural cultural shift. Across centuries and across completely different civilizations, the same transformation keeps happening with unsettling consistency. A god becomes a threat. That threat becomes a warning, and the warning eventually becomes a demon. This didn't happen once. It happened again and again and again, in places that had no contact with each other for generations. Different cultures, different gods, the same outcome. Which means the question isn't what happened. The question is how. Because coincidences don't repeat this cleanly. If you look closely at the stories that survived, you start to notice something uncomfortable. The old gods weren't destroyed outright. Their temples were repurposed, their names distorted, their roles inverted. They weren't removed from belief. They were reshaped inside it. That distinction matters. When something is erased, it disappears. But when something is rewritten, it continues to exist. Only now it serves a different purpose. And that is exactly what happened to the old gods. There is a pattern to this, a method. And once you recognize it, you begin to see it everywhere. The process always begins the same way. First, the god is stripped of context. Ancient gods didn't exist in isolation. They were part of living systems, cycles of nature, death, fertility, chaos, renewal. When those systems are removed, the god is no longer understood as a balancing force. They become abstract, unmoored, dangerous by implication rather than action. A god of chaos, for example, was never a god of evil. Chaos meant unpredictability, disruption, transformation. It was necessary. But remove the wider system, and chaos stops being a force that creates change and becomes something that threatens order. Once the context is gone, the meaning becomes vulnerable. That leads to the second step. The meaning is inverted. What once represented balance is reframed as corruption. What once symbolized nature becomes something opposed to morality. Death, which was once a transition, becomes punishment. Chaos becomes sin. The god does not change. Only the lens through which they are viewed does. This inversion is subtle at first. Stories are retold with different emphasis. Traits are exaggerated. Symbols are reinterpreted. Over time, the god is no longer remembered for what they maintained, but for what they supposedly threatened. And then comes the final step. Fear is weaponized. The god is no longer something to understand. They become something to warn against. Their image is sharpened, darkened, simplified. Nuance disappears. Complexity becomes danger. Eventually, the god exists only as an example of what not to be, what not to follow, what must be rejected. This is the moment where a god stops being a force of nature and starts becoming a devil. You can see this process clearly once you know what to look for. Take Pan, a god of wilderness, instinct, and untamed nature. Not evil, not malicious, simply uncontrollable. Over time, his imagery merges with the figure of the devil. Horns, hooves, animalistic features, until the wild itself becomes something sinful rather than sacred. Or look at underworld rulers across cultures. They were never executioners. They were custodians, guardians of balance between life and death. But once moral judgment is imposed on death itself, those figures are no longer keepers of order. They become jailers, torturers, enforcers of punishment. The stories didn't disappear. They were repurposed. This wasn't random. It wasn't sloppy, it was effective. A system built on moral obedience cannot coexist with gods that embody ambiguity. You cannot control people who worship forces instead of rules. You cannot maintain authority over a population that sees chaos, death, and transformation as natural parts of existence rather than moral failures. So the old gods weren't denied. Their power was acknowledged and redirected. Worship became fear. Fear became obedience. And once fear enters the system, control follows naturally. At this point, something important happens to the person listening to these stories. The question changes. Instead of asking, "Was this god evil?" a more unsettling question emerges. Who benefited from calling them evil? Because demonization is never neutral. It always serves someone. It always reinforces a structure. It always reshapes behavior. When you trace that pattern across cultures, the same conclusion keeps appearing, whether you want it to or not. This was deliberate. Not a misunderstanding, not an accident, not a clash of beliefs. It was a method. And once you understand that method, you start seeing it far beyond mythology. You start recognizing how belief itself can be engineered, how fear can be designed, how stories can be altered just enough to change how entire generations behave. In the next part, we're going to look at a figure where this process becomes impossible to ignore. A deity whose power was so threatening, so uncontrollable, that rewriting her story wasn't enough. Her identity had to be fractured, her symbolism distorted, her role buried under layers of fear and myth. Because some gods weren't just turned into demons, they were broken on purpose.